Hey guys, welcome back to the Fulco. I've been away for a little while, unable to make videos, but that's just life events getting in the way. But I'm back and I wanted to make a quick video this morning looking back on yesterday's Tamworth FA Cup match and also to have a quick think about whether there are reasons to be cheerful as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Now that sounds very unlikely, but there are a few things that are happening that might lead us to feel a bit more positive going into this second half of the season. So looking at the Tamworth game, not a great performance, obviously. We kind of limped over the line. The reason that a lot of people are going to be frustrated and upset, and rightly so to a certain extent, is that we really struggled with a relatively strong team, lots of changes, but a relatively strong team to get over the line against a National League side in Tamworth. There's obvious mitigations. There's the conditions, icy conditions. That was a 3G pitch, which these players won't be used to playing on week in, week out, and obviously the Tamworth players are. And then all of the the magic of the FA Cup, where Tamworth are having the biggest game of arguably of their club's history, and they are going to give absolutely everything. They're going to be up for it. The crowd is going to be up for it, and so that's going to lead to conditions that are quite challenging. But regardless of that, we still should have done better. That wasn't a great performance. The players who were on the pitch, there was more than enough firepower on there to have won that game and to have won it comfortably, and we didn't. And many of the issues that we know exist in our team, in our squad, and the playing staff that we've got remained. People are calling out Timo Werner, they're calling out Brennan Johnson, they're looking at it and saying it wasn't good enough. I would agree with that. Obviously, Timo misses a 1v1, and again, his link-up play, his passing and stuff like that was not great. And I totally get it. If you were against Timo coming back in and that wasn't the right signing, and obviously we should have signed Nico Williams, then you're going to be looking for issues with Timo and his performances throughout the season. The truth of the matter is the player has demonstrated that he's not going to get back to, or for Tottenham anyway, he's not going to get back to the one that he was in the early part of his career. Excuse me. And he's obviously not going to be at Tottenham past the end of the season. Now, lots of people would like him not to be there after January, but there are lots of reasons why he wouldn't leave. It's not in Tottenham's hand, I don't think, to cancel the loan, or you could cancel the loan, send him back, but still have to pay all of his wages. Is a very likely scenario, so that doesn't sound like a good idea. And just clearly said he doesn't want to lose any more bodies just in case. And what we've kind of got ourselves into a situation of is we need to make far too many upgrades in January based not only on our previous transfers but also on the injuries that have happened. Now, the complex situation we've got is that bringing in a raft of transfers now will happen to coincide with lots of our injuries coming back, and it's going to block spaces. But I think a lot of people would argue we need it anyway. We need better players, not just reinforcements, not just bodies through the door. I would argue we need both. We need both those things. So let's see what we can do in the January transfer window. Kinski's come in. He's now had a couple of games. He's been thrown straight in, and he looks absolutely fantastic. And again, you can't read too much into two performances, but what I would say is the level of confidence is the key one, because that making saves and the physical aspects and the playing out from the feet, he will be challenged and he will be tested, and if he plays on Wednesday, Arsenal are going to be swinging in balls under the crossbar at him, and so all of those things are going to come under scrutiny. And the quality of the press, the intensity, the pace of it, he's going to face lots and lots of things. But the key to me is, as a 21-year-old, he's come in and he's looked very calm, very assured. He's clearly got a bit of steel, a bit of that kind of inner steel and a strong mentality and some good confidence that doesn't appear to be that arrogance. It appears to be a genuine confidence in himself and in what he's doing. You can see elements of that with Archie Gray as well. I don't think Archie Gray's quite got it at the same level in terms of the confidence, but you can see it, and that is the kind of thing that when you look at a player that comes in, you think to yourself, he's A, only going to develop, and hopefully in a positive way, but B, when you see a young player come in with that, you think to yourself that, you know, it can be taught to a certain extent, but when someone has it, they have it, and you know it. And so if you add quality to that kind of attitude and that kind of confidence, I think we've made an absolutely brilliant signing. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I'm looking forward to the battle between Vicario and Kinski, but I see absolutely no reason to throw Vicario back in. I maintain that I'm not convinced by Vicario's footwork. Now, he may well improve it, but to have two goalkeepers of that quality finally puts us in the position that we wanted to be in the goalkeeping department. So, reasons to be positive. Kinski, excellent. Across the rest of the team that played against Tamworth, I think we need to give a shout out to Bissouma. Bissouma has actually quietly been going under the radar, it feels. I don't think people have been giving him the credit he deserves, because he gets a lot of criticism, and rightly so, when he doesn't perform, whereas he was very good against Tamworth. He was one of the few players that came off largely having done everything that he needed to do. And he's also done that in the last couple of games as well. So credit to him. He's he's kind of playing that sixth role. He's getting a lot of the defensive actions. He's getting in, nipping in, poking balls away, putting balls away, getting in, winning important headers, as he did yesterday against Tamworth, where he actually heads the ball against a Tamworth player, and the ball kind of just dropped wide. It wasn't a Tamworth player that got a clean header on it, and that's what you want, because they were a big, strong side, and clearly set pieces were going to be important to them. So delighted with that, delighted to see Bissouma. And all we really want to see from Bissouma is to maintain that level. Just keep doing that and do it for the rest of the season. Now, we've seen that he's not necessarily capable of that consistency, and it's why a manager like Antonio Conte absolutely didn't trust him. And everyone was like, but he's brilliant, why would you not put him in the side? Antonio Conte has trust issues, and Bissouma is a player that can be hard to trust. And we've seen that now that he's had a couple of seasons with a real run in the side. So that's great to see in terms of his performances, and let's just keep churning out that output. Let's keep doing those things. Mikey Moore was very good. There wasn't a particular end product. There was one kind of lovely outside of the football where he broke into the box, flipped one over to Werner. Werner did quite well. He headed it back where it needed to come from. There wasn't a great deal of power on the ball, and it was technically cleared off the line. So, well done, Timo. That was good. And Mikey, some good work to get in there. And what I liked about Mikey is that throughout the game, he had the confidence, having been out for so long, good touches, and he was regularly able to take the ball against really tight pressure. And very often he would drive back. His first touch would be back and then quickly inside, which allowed him to go past his marker, which was really good to see. It's his first game back. Okay, when it got down into the deeper, wide areas, he didn't always get past his man, but he was trying to take players on, and that's really positive, because obviously we don't see that on the other side with Brennan Johnson, and it's really nice to see that Mikey's got that confidence to be taking players on. So well done to him. Beyond that, a smattering of decent performances and bits and pieces, and Reguilon did okay. Porro up and down, Dragushin against the physical side, some good bits, some I felt he got a little bit too involved in the physical side. Brennan Johnson, lots of criticism for him, but what you can't argue with is, he scored a goal. He probably should have had an assist, I think. If you look, he dropped into the centre and played a lovely ball through, really well-weighted ball, especially on that pitch, to Werner, who should have scored. So yeah, he, some of the key metrics he did well. couple of good crosses, several not so great crosses. And again, doesn't really take on his man, and you would have felt that against a team like Tamworth, at least try your arm. Try, lose it once, and then don't try again, but at least try getting in there. So yeah, definitely more we want from Brennan. And overall, we struggled. It got a bit nervy towards the end, as you know it would if you let a game like that go into the 80th minute and beyond. The other team is thinking anything, a chance, a set piece, and they did get a chance. They got a kind of toe poke that Kinski got down well to. Those are the kind of things that they're hoping for, and we created that situation by not putting that game to bed earlier. We obviously then make changes in extra time, starting to bring on a raft of players. Reasons to be cheerful. Again, I don't know what number we're on, but Berryval came on, and he again looks a different class. He came on, he's confident, he's starting to put it together in terms of his movements, his pockets, picking up the ball, driving at players, beating players, and now the next step on for him is the key passes. So making those key passes, the decisive ones, and then putting the attacking players in positions where they've got good chances off the back of his good work. But he came on and he was very good. There was only one moment. There was one moment where we were driving forward, and something I'd like to see from him is he could have driven straight down the middle of the pitch. So he had the ball, he laid it out to the left. He could have driven straight down the middle of the pitch, but he didn't. He moved over to the left. And again, I just want him to scan that environment and look. And if you'd have looked at it, there were 3 or 4 players all over in that left-hand side. And for me, it didn't need that. We didn't need to gather and have, a diamond or small triangles occurring in that space, because it was more of a kind of counter. And so you don't need to go over there to create an overload, to create rotations, to try and get around the other team. What I would have liked to see is him pin the opposition by staying really, really central. So hold the ball central until the moment to offload it, but then maintain your line. So you provide a threat kind of towards the center of the goal, and it widens the spaces. And if you're in that kind of transition, semi-transition, i.e. a quick fast break attack, that's what I want to see from you, as opposed to getting over there to go and pick up the ball again and get involved. There were enough players over there. We didn't really need it. But again, these are small things. He's a young player. They'll watch the tape back and they'll probably run through this with him in terms of those things. So, yeah, he was very good. And that's something we should be very pleased with, because he's been growing consistently. The rest of the players came on. Decky, obviously, great goal. He made a difference. He also nicks the ball to play to Johnson for his goal. Sonny did okay. He came on and largely was neat and tidy and provided the threat. He easily got past his man the first time he tried, which again forces their line back a bit. It asks them questions and it gives a bit more space in front. Excuse me. And so, yeah, the big players had to come on. It's very, very disappointing. We don't want to see Son and Solanke and Decky and even Berryval, who's played a lot of minutes. We don't want to see them coming on in a game like this. We want that game done and dusted. We didn't do it. We obviously had extra time, which puts an extra 30 plus minutes through the legs of some players who played the entire game. Again, not ideal, but that's what you get when you don't put the game away. So overall, we got it over the line. No one's going to be happy about that performance. Yes, the circumstances were challenging, but we probably should have done better. So it's one of those, not really a performance, but the result is there. We're still in the cup. We move on to the next round. We've got a really tough game. We've been drawn at Aston Villa away, and we've been drawn against them less than 2 days after our cup semi-final second leg against Liverpool away. So hopefully that game will get moved, the Aston Villa game, because that is plainly not okay for us to be playing on Thursday night and then Saturday afternoon. 2 away games in 2 cup competitions. So yeah, we're through to the next round. I guess that's really all that matters. But yeah, lots of questions to be asked about the players and a strong enough team who didn't put Tamworth away. Beyond that, I just wanted to quickly touch on some of the other reasons to be positive, or potentially be positive, is the performances of players like Jed Spence. And I know there's been a lot of Tottenham fans being Tottenham fans, we will find a way to criticise whether things are going well or things are going badly. So Jed Spence doing really well is a reason to criticise Ange and the team for not putting him in earlier. Now, as I always say, every decision, everything that you do in football creates an alternate universe, and we can't really know what would or would not have happened in a situation that didn't happen. So there are three ways to look at Jed Spence and his arrival in the team and his impact and his lack of minutes previous to that. Is he gets thrown in earlier in the season and he has a bit of a nightmare, or he's not ready, or he makes loads of mistakes, and it effectively ruins him, and it costs us even more points than we've lost this season. That's a worst case scenario. Then there's the scenario where you throw him in earlier in the season, he picks up an injury, and he's out because he wasn't physically ready. And then there's the third case scenario, which is you throw him in and he does brilliantly, and we should have put him in earlier. That's all well and good, but there's a school of thought that he's come in now and he's doing really well might be down to it being the right time to have put him in. He'd had the right number of training sessions, he was showing the right attitude, and he was doing the right thing behind the scenes to justify him getting on the pitch and getting minutes, and therefore his performances have reflected that, and he is now a hugely positive member of the group, and he's really inputting well. He was brilliant against Liverpool in the cup semi-final first leg against Mo Salah, who one of the best players in the league, and he's on form, and he's even dropped into centre half just like Archie Gray and done a great job for us there as well. So you can look at it whichever way you want to look at it. There's no way to know whether throwing him in earlier would have been the right or the wrong thing, because it didn't happen. But what we can say is that he's come in now and he's doing really well, and there is a world in which, having held him back and trained him and worked with him, that is one of the reasons why he's doing so well now. So you could choose to look at it that way if you want to be glass half full. The other one is obviously we've still got half a transfer window to go, and I'm sure people are losing their minds over the fact that 4 players have not walked in the door in all the positions we need them. Whereas anybody that actually thought that was going to happen with Tottenham was probably living in a kind of FIFA gaming dreamland, or an EA whatever it's called dreamland. There is a school of thought again that with the situation we find ourselves in, we could invest more money in January than we would probably ever plan to, just like the Kinski deal, which was, we kind of felt we had to go for it, or maybe lose him in the summer or come up against more competition. We could go for opportunities that we might have been reticent to do in the past, because we still have all of the cup competitions on the table, and we want to have a strong run at the league to try and get back in the European places. So it could be the kind of thing where we find ourselves in a good position, a good bad position, to force Daniel Levy and the board to spend more in January. It will certainly affect us later down the line, don't you worry. Daniel Levy is not one to be like, yeah, throw loads of money and we'll throw more later. It will affect future transfer budgets, but there is a possibility that we look at this and we think, actually, could we really have a go for some silverware if we add the pieces that we need? And that is something that will remain to be seen by the end of the transfer window. But we as Spurs fans can only hope. We can only sit here and desperately hope that we're gonna get some signings over the line. So let's see how we go. Lots of games coming up. Next one, North London derby. Do we have to, is my question. They're obviously coming off the back of a painful and a bitter defeat. It's Man United, it's the FA Cup, and Man U are down to 10 men and Arsenal have gone out. So they're going to be smarting, they're going to be hurting from that. And even though a lot of their first teamers obviously had a very competitive game and they're going to go again on Wednesday, because of our injuries, we're not in a situation where we've managed to fully rest all of our first teamers. We haven't got all of our first teamers available, and the ones that we have got, a lot of them did have to have minutes against Tamworth. So Not quite as positive as it could have been for us, but it's a North London derby and everybody's going to run, everybody's going to give it their all. With these games, I would love to get out of there without getting beat. I would love to get out of there without getting smashed. Any points, a point or 3, would be magnificent. And I'm not necessarily looking at result. Like I say, sometimes it's about performance, sometimes it's about result, sometimes it's about both. I'm just looking for that performance. Go there, and whatever happens across the 90 plus minutes, can we as fans look back on it and say, we were unlucky, we gave it a go, or it was tight, or they won it on a set piece, that kind of thing. If we can come out with a positive feeling towards the performances, a bit like some of the defeats recently, like the game against Newcastle, you come out and you feel hard done by the decision, and actually think you played quite well given the playing staff that you've got. Can we come out, perform, and let's see what happens? It's a derby. You never know. Jorginho might kick it in his own net. He likes doing that. So we can hope. Anyway, let's have a good week. Let's enjoy Wednesday night, if anybody can ever enjoy a North London derby, and fingers crossed we can get some kind of positive result out of it. Anyway, I'll leave it there. And as ever, come on you Spurs.